the boy in his hands, staring into his eyes. He begins speaking to his dad.
Dad, do you remember that small two-bedroom flat on Park Avenue where both you and I grew up? Well, that's the place Don and I have, right above Grandma and Grandpa's place. Anyways, you should have seen us last night, Dad. You would have been proud of me. Don was in the shower and started yelling for me. I was still sleeping. I thought I was having a dream, but she kept calling out with a bit of panic in her voice, so I rolled out of bed and ran to the washroom. There was my beautiful Dawn, soaking wet, having contractions 2 minutes apart. I quickly dried her off, helped her get dressed, grabbed her hospital bag, and her water broke. Inside, I was freaked, but on the outside, I kept it together. I quickly dried her off and then helped her get in the car. I thought she was going to have the baby right there. That's what happened to Mom, right? Well, I couldn't drive fast enough. Every time she groaned with a contraction, I would think to myself, oh no, we're not going to make it. We're going to have the baby right here, right now. Thank goodness we made it to the hospital. I ran out, got a wheelchair, and quickly got back to the car, helped her get in, and ran her inside to the elevator. She kept telling me that she wasn't going to make it. Now the contractions were on top of each other. I swear, the baby was going to come out in the elevator. Phew. We made it to the 5th floor nursing station, and there they took over. Of course, I had to run back to admissions in order to check her in. I panicked, thinking, what if I don't make it back in time? I'm going to miss it. I ran as hard as I could. I made it back in time. Well, just. I entered the delivery room to find Dawn on her back, her legs up in stirrups, and pushing and yelling and breathing. I couldn't look, where the baby was coming from because she was tearing. Then the doctor took a knife, slid his 2 fingers between her skin and the baby's head and started to cut a bigger opening so that she would stop tearing. I looked over at Dawn, grabbed hold of her hand and squeezed. I put some of her ice cubes in my mouth. Dad, I was going to pass out. Well, guess what? I was woken to voices calling out, William, it's a boy! It's a boy! Wake up, William, it's a boy. I was so cold, lying on the floor. I could hear the voices, but all I could see was a field of lilies and my little boy flying away as I desperately ran to catch him. What seemed like hours was but seconds. As I came to, the nurses helped me get up. My head was spinning. I couldn't see the field anymore. It was only a dream. Did you feel the same way when Mom was giving birth to me? Did anything like that ever happen to you? A few moments later, there he was. The doctor asked me if I felt steady enough to cut the cord. Queasy and shaky with rubbery legs, I put on a face of confidence and I cut it. Wow! The little guy laid there in Dawn's bosom. We were filled with tears of joy. We named him David, after you. The nurse picked him up, weighed him, cleaned him off, and wrapped him in a soft flannel blanket and handed him to me, saying, here's your son. He's 10 pounds, 3 ounces, a beautiful little boy. I held David in my hands and fixed my eyes on him. Wow. 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 Dad, is that how you felt when I was born? When I was born, it must have been hard for you guys. Because Mom was only 16, you 18. Sure, you were excited, but pretty anxious too. A newborn baby, hungry, dirty diapers, up in the night crying, and you guys so young. How in the world did you do it? There I was, so tiny, weak, and dependent, in your big, strong hands. Dad, I'm sure that when you held me, you looked at me with the same tears of joy as I have now, anticipating our journey together as father and son. What would my first word be? Dada. When would I crawl and then take my first steps? Showing me how to ride a bike, taking my first day at school, playing hockey together on the rink that you made in the backyard, going to the park to play ball together, taking me camping, going fishing and hunting together. Dad, what about Christmases and birthdays? Grandma told me so many stories about you and me and how much you wanted to do all of those things with me. The things a father wants to do with his son. I wish that I had been old enough. Then maybe I would be able to remember what we did together. The story I hated hearing the most, and that always made me angry about that day in 1961, when the whole family went to the Montreal Chest Hospital for x-rays because your older brother had TB of the lung. I was there with Mom, who was expecting your second baby, Grandpa, Grandma, and your 5 siblings. The waiting room was full, and all eyes were on us because of all the commotion surrounding our family. You were 19, Mom 17, and I was 1. People were talking, some even angry, not because of the wait or crowded waiting room, but because of our family and what was happening. She told me everything. How Grandpa was angry with himself, swearing and beating his head against the wall. She was crying, and your 3 brothers and 2 sisters were scared. She said that Mom was in denial of it all, in her own naive way, as though she had no idea what was going on, because in her mind you were so big and strong and healthy as an ox, surely nothing could happen to you. But Dad, that wasn't the case. The doctor came out and looked at Grandpa, telling him that you needed to have open heart surgery immediately, explaining to him that you had a tumor in your heart the size of a grapefruit, impressing on him the urgency of the situation. Grandpa signed the consent forms permitting them to operate on you. He blamed himself for what was happening. Dad, you must have freaked out. Hundreds of scary thoughts running through your head, clouded with fear and a sense of panic. What could you do? No one could understand. It's as though you were placed on death row and there was no escape. You knew that you would never be able to live out your dreams, and this must have left you with a big hole in your heart. Pardon the pun. Sorry, I know it's not funny. You had your surgery. You were told that it went well. It took 4 months for you to recover. All was going to be okay. No, that wasn't your reality, because shortly after my brother was born, you got sick again and were told that the tumor grew back with vengeance and that you had to have surgery again. So 1 year after the first open heart surgery, you had a second one and you never really recovered. Wow, Dad. This story scares me a lot today, more than it ever did before. When I turned 19, I went to the Montreal Chest Hospital for x-rays, and I was good. I went again when I was 21, and I was good. Each time I turned an age, when something bad happened to you, I freaked out. But here I am. It's my firstborn son, and I'm scared. What if it happens to me? I'm scared because you had no control of what was happening to you, and you had no way out. 9 months after the second surgery, you were fighting for your life. You were 21. But Grandma told me that you looked like you were 71. She also told me that you would cry, beating your head against the wall till it bled, begging and pleading with God to give you 15 more years of your life so you could raise your 2 boys. But that never happened. You were forced to say goodbye to us and to this life. Dad, I will always, always remember that day when you held me in your arms, high up in the air, laying there in your hospital bed, looking at me with tear-filled eyes, trying so hard to keep yourself from losing it. You told me not to be afraid, that you would always love me and that you would miss me immensely, and that if you could, you would always be with me. You hugged me and said goodbye. That was the last time I saw you. Dad, I miss you. I wish you were here with me now. I wish you could see and hold my son, your first grandson. I wish you could look into my little boy's eyes. Don, I wish my dad was here. I want so much for him to see us now. But my dad's not here. He will never be here, and that really hurts. What if I end up like my dad? I lost so much when I lost him, and now I'm afraid for our family. I want our son to have a father and not 6 of them like I had. I grew up feeling like I was never good enough, not worthy of a dad, always asking what I did wrong. Why did they leave? they die. Dawn, I'm 24. Life is different, and medicine is better now. I will see our son grow up, and I will do with him all the things that I wasn't able to do with my dad. I'm not afraid for us. I believe that we will have many more kids, and I will daddy them all, and one day we will have grandkids. And then, when we're old and gray and advanced in years, we'll say goodbye, and not before then. Dawn, I'm going to be a great father to our son. Honey, you know. Now, for the first time in my life, I can feel and see my dad as I look into our little boy's eyes, and I can hear him say to me, son, I love you. I never wanted to leave you. I am proud of you. All the things that we missed together, you can live them with your son. Just know that when your son looks at you and you at him, that this is what we would have shared together. You have it now, and you will be able to experience me all the way through your journey with son. Again, son, I love you.